My name is Lee Wildeman, Executive Director of Howard County Sesquicentennial Celebration. I just want to thank everybody for coming this evening. You're about to embark on a great adventure called Oral Histories and Story Circles, and I will introduce Sally Boris, who has coordinated this evening's events. Thanks, Sally.
Oh, great. Believe me, it's wonderful to sit in these rockers up front. It would be great to spend like 30 seconds talking to you and get back down on a rocker. I'm delighted you're here. This evening's event is a blended event, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to honor some folks who've participated in oral histories in 4 towns in the Patapsco Valley, Ellicott City, Elk Ridge, Relay, and Owella. And over the course of the last 3 years or so, 55 folks have been interviewed in a project that was funded by the Maryland Historical Trust. The project was accepted as a local legacy by the Library of Congress in its bicentennial collection. And so portraits were taken. Some of those portraits are in the lobby. Those portraits are going to be on the World Wide Web, so people from China can learn about what it was like to live in the Patapsco Valley. That's right. We can go to China and see ourselves. This evening, what we're going to do is we're going to start by having some of those folks tell stories about growing up in the Patapsco Valley. And 3 of the folks who were interviewed have agreed to tell stories. Then what we did is this project is being administered by the Howard County Sesquicentennial Committee. The committee made a decision that storytelling and telling stories and getting to know each other informally was a really important part of the sesquicentennial, which is Howard County's 150th birthday. Actually, will be coming up next July 4th.
That's correct.
Right.
2001.
Right, 2001. And this project is one that lends itself. This is a project where we did collect information and stories from various communities. There was an opportunity to take that process one step further and do something called story circles. Story circles was a process that was introduced to me by Catherine Knowles of the Columbia Festival. She said, Columbia Festival of the Arts. She said story circles are a wonderful way for a community in which there's been rapid growth, lots of new people. It's a wonderful way to have old and new people understand some of the community. So you share some of the old stories and you enable new residents to hear those stories, and it builds community. So in fact, the Friends of Patapsco Valley and Heritage Greenway got funding from the Maryland Commission for Celebration 2000 to run story circles in the Patapsco Valley this summer. And this is a performance that also features story circles. We have been running story circles in the towns of Dorsey, Elk Ridge, Daniels, and we will be running them in Catonsville. We're open to having them in any community up and down the central Patapsco Valley. Roadside Theater, members of Roadside Theater have come this evening. They are nationally recognized storytellers, and they focus on telling stories of community and bringing them to life. I'm delighted they're here. And the second part of this program, they will explain story circles and some of their work, and then they will tell stories that have been developed from a story circle process. We expect this to go till about 8:30, and then we'll have an informal reception with coffee and whatever desserts are left from the potluck picnic we had earlier. I'm delighted you're here, and we'll get started by introducing our knowledgeable, esteemed residents. Mr. Amberman, if you'll come forward, Mr. Corin, and Mr. Worthington. We have this evening William Amberman, Mr. Corin, if you'll come forward, and Addison Worthington. Is Mr. Worthington still there? No, I don't see him.
How are you?
The old rocking chair is gone.
Great. No, you may pick your seat.
Where away?
It's your choice.
Your choice. You pick your seat.
I'd rather be behind the screen.
That's not a choice. That's the only thing that's not a choice.
Okay, great.
Hi, how are you?
Have a seat.
Thank you.
I happen to have heard stories from two of these three men, and I happen to know some of the stories that the third man has to tell. So what I'd like to do is give you all each about 10 minutes or so to tell a story or two. And Mr. Amberman, if you'd be so kind to start, that would be great.
I have to stand up.
You have to stand up.
Yeah, the microphones apparently are not working, but I don't need them anyhow. With my big mouth, you're all able to hear it, I'm sure. I don't know where to start. I got so many of them. I guess I'll start early in my life, such as when I was around 12 years old. I had an unusual experience. My people who lived in suburbia, which is between city and country, but we had all the goodies of the city, in other words, running water, electricity, all of those fine things. And then we moved to Elk Ridge, and we moved into the country of Elk Ridge. Just prior to that, my people were having difficulty with my hair. It was coming out and staying out very late. Anyway, they took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, cut all of his hair off, and then if you have a straight razor, shave it. Well, we moved to Elk Ridge. The first thing my father did was to cut all my hair off and shave my head. Now picture this. This is about August the 21st or the 20th that we moved to Elk Ridge. I'm from the city, practically. I moved into the country. I knew none of the people around there and their kids. I'm 12 years old. So I'm starting after Labor Day, September, into a brand new school with a bald head. And I mean a bald head, shaved. Well, the first moniker I got was Bald Head Eagle. I carried that all the way through up to high school. So that must have started. Now, where shall I start insofar as the stories are concerned? When we moved to Elk Ridge, we moved into a primitive place. When I say primitive, I mean primitive. The closest electric lines were at the top of Hartke's Hill. Anyone familiar with the Elk Ridge area know what I'm talking about. Hartke's Hill was about 3/4 to a mile from our house. No way to get electric down there without the approval of the gas and electric company. And they would not do it without this stuff they call greenbacks. And we didn't have any of that. So we couldn't do it. There was no gas within available limits. So we couldn't light with gas. So we used kerosene to study with at night, to cook with, except my mother had a cook stove, which, guess who cut the wood with a cook stove? That's how I developed these strange looking things called mussels. My father was, of course, busy with his trade. He was a horseshoer and blacksmith and run a right good trade, which I tried to learn in later years. But after the second horse kicked me, I decided that was not my line of work whatsoever, because I couldn't kick him back. So we left it go at that, and I decided that that was not a trade for me to follow. We had some interesting things happen to us, my father and I, at blacksmithing, but I won't go into them. I'd rather take you into the illegal trade of bootlegging. We did have two real good bootleggers that had stills within about a half a mile of our house in a little stream that run by there. And they were real nice people. One was named James, and the other was named Heck. Now, Heck was, I guess, the richest one of the group, because at one time I saw approximately $100,000 laying on his table, proceeds of the illegal trade, which was not supposed to be at all. James was a different situation. He had a nice still. I visited it, and but he had a strange wife. At that time, if you turned a still in, you got $50 from the revenue agents. So his wife turned him in. And she collected her $50. Well, they busted up the still and put him in jail. At that time, it was only, I don't know, 20 or 30 days in jail for the manufacture of illegal whiskey. So when he got out, he beat the devil out of her. And she would come down to our house crying the blues and trying to fix up her bruises. My mother would take her in and call Dr. Brumbaugh. He would come up, look her over, fix her up, and put her to bed in our house, which was all right. She was a nice person. Anyway, when he got out of jail, this was when he got out of jail, he would beat her up. And then in about a week's time, he would come down to our house. He knew exactly where she was. And lovey-dovey, they walked home. And I suppose prepared for the next still. Because in about a couple of weeks, or perhaps a month later, here was a still going, pretty nearly in the same spot, because he was using the same parts. And he built another still. You guessed it, his wife turned him in for $50. He went to jail. When he got out of jail, he beat her up. She come down to visit us. We called Dr. Brumbaugh. Oh, I told the story once before. So that was the era of the stills part. But they were nice people, really church-going people. And we did not mind helping them out. They were not ruffians. None of the people were ruffians. And so much so that occasionally my father would store some of the illegal whiskey for them. Such as maybe 200 cases, just a small amount, you know. And guess what I did? I used to color the whiskey. You know, bootleg whiskey is perfectly clear, just as clear as water. And nobody's going to buy bootleg whiskey that way. You have to color it. You have to make it an amber color. Well, that's easily done. You just burn a little bit of sugar and put about a half a teaspoonful in a half a gallon. And that was my job. And I colored many and many a gallon of whiskey. I was 14 years old, which is sort of illegal. But we did have interesting times. I used to be the And when I was 16, I got my driver's license. I was a bus driver. Our bus was a half-ton Ford, half-ton Ford truck, and we put slats across it for the kids to sit on. And that's what I drove them down to the elementary school. Heck had 2 kids. I meant to tell you that. I saw more money, folding money, than I ever saw in my life before, then, or since. I went up there to cut hay one time with a pair of horses, and it was a hot day, and the horses got warm, so I pulled them under a tree and brought a big tub down. I was on Heck's place, brought a tub down, filled it with water so that they could have plenty of water to drink, and I thought, well, I'm thirsty, I'm going up to the house and see what I can find in the way of drink. So I went up, and of course I knew Heck and all of his people. So I walked in on the kitchen. What did I see? I never saw so much money on a table in my life. Here was greenbacks, no change, just folding money on the table, approximately a foot deep. And I didn't see a 1 in there, nor a 5. It was tens, hundreds, I guess it was thousands too. Did it make a $1,000 bill? I don't know. Anyway, it was all big money, and it was piled at that table. I would say a pile about that big around and about that deep. And then while I was getting the water, a man come in with a bushel basket full of the folding stuff and dumped it right in the center. I never saw so much money in my life. All illegal, but good money. Have I expired my time?
You've done just perfectly, Mr. Anderson.
Huh?
Yes, yes, thank you.
I thank you very much.